Hello, it is Aaron Deacon here, the blue-eyed amateur scientist from Bios Nutrients, and today I want to talk about soil pH. Soil pH is extremely important, but often very overlooked when it comes to both indoor and outdoor plants. A lot of people don't realize that pH is actually how plants eat. It stands for potential hydrogens, and there has to be a certain amount of hydrogen available in your water and in your soil for plants to be able to exchange for nutrients. So it has to be in the range of 5.5 and 6.3 to 6.5 at the very highest for some things like blueberries that like soil to be very acidic. Soil to be very... I think I'm wrong on that one. I think blueberries like to be very acidic, I believe, so maybe on that low end of 5.5. And then up to 6.5. Some cannabis plants like around 6.2 for certain nutrients, but the point is that certain nutrients are only available at certain ranges of pH. So by basically offering your plants with your water the proper pH of somewhere in the 6 range, right in the middle, you are basically giving it a neutral pH to that soil so that it can basically buffer itself. So the other really cool thing about pH is that though you can basically change the pH of your water and your soil, which you should be doing all the time. You don't want that getting out of whack, because that's when you're going to start getting deficiencies and diseases. But what the plant can actually do, if the pH of the soil and the water is already correct, is that it can tell different microbes in the soil, like bacteria and fungi, to adjust the pH for them. So fungi makes soil more acidic. So if you have lots of fungi in your soil, it's going to be more of acidic soil. So if you look in the forest, a lot of wood is falling down. That is food for fungi. So a lot of the time, forests are fungally dominated soils. So they're usually a little bit more acidic. Whereas bacteria create alkaline substances, so it makes soil more alkaline. Somebody sneezed real good there. But so yeah, basically the plant will talk to the bacteria and the fungi and tell it, hey, I need this nutrient right now. Can you guys balance each other out a little bit? So some fungi will basically die off, some bacteria will die off, and they will balance the pH of the soil for the plant based on the communication that they have with each other, which is beautiful. But it really does all come down to making sure that you are properly pHing your water so that your soil can be in the proper pH as well. There are a few things that you can use for this. So if you need to bring the pH of your water down or make it more acidic, which is the case for most water, for most tap waters in your home, the pH is going to be quite high, around 9 or higher. The pH range goes up to 14. So usually it has to be brought down or made more acidic. You can buy pH down and pH up from local pet stores. They have it for aquariums, or you can use simply lemon juice and baking soda. So lemon juice is very acidic, citric acid, it makes things more acidic. So you can bring the pH of water down very quickly with lemon juice. So I like to squirt a little bit of lemon juice in my water, even just to drink it. It's delicious and it's good for you. But also just to bring the pH of that water down for your plants, I highly recommend buying a pH test kit. You can find one on Amazon for like $8, or your local hardware store. If you're in Canada, Canadian Tire has them. Home Depot, I think, sells them as well for the US. But yeah, they are a valuable tool, and I recommend the liquid ones, not the strips, because the strips are not very accurate. So the liquid is definitely the way to go if you really want an accurate pH reading for your plants. And then if you end up putting too much lemon juice in, you can use baking soda to make water more alkaline. So basically what you do is just add a little bit of baking soda into your water, test it again. Once it's in the proper range, you are good to go and you can water your plants. Now, the other part of this is that your soil will change pH as well. So if you haven't been pHing your water previously, there's a good chance that your soil is not at the correct pH either. So this will take some time to adjust. There are a few ways that you can do this, but what I recommend is basically testing it first. So when you get that liquid pH test kit, basically what you're going to do is just water your soil with neutral pH. So you want it at 7. 7 is neutral. And you're going to basically measure the runoff of that plant soil. So you're going to water it until about 25% of that water runs out. You're going to collect that. You're going to test that water. Whatever that pH is sitting at is going to be a general idea of what your soil is sitting at in terms of pH. So that's going to kind of get us started into knowing what's going on there. I'm guessing that if you haven't pH'd your water before, your soil is probably quite alkaline. So what we're going to want to do is add something to bring the acidity down. You can do this with just frequent waterings with your pH water, or you can just basically adjust your water to a slightly lower pH to kind of help balance that out, and it will over time. Or you can add things like sulfur, I believe, is a great tool to bring the pH of soil down. And sulfur is an essential nutrient for plants as well, so it's really great to use. You can buy elemental sulfur from most garden centers, I believe. And then you can use agricultural lime to raise the pH of soil, I believe, to make it more alkaline. You're gonna have to fact check that one for sure. If it's wrong, it's gonna be right here, but I think it's right. So that is the way that you can pH your soil for either indoors or outdoors. And also, as we talked about before, the microbes have a massive play in this as well. So make sure that you got microbes in your soil, bacteria, fungi, get them in there. They'll balance each other out. The plant will help them. They have a beautiful relationship with each other. And then pH your water. That's the biggest thing. Start pHing your water every time you water, no matter what, because it is how plants eat. And if you don't pH your water, you're basically starving your plants. So if you have some plants that are looking a little laggy or just not growing as good anymore, or they're getting disease all the time, then you may have some pH issues. That's usually the first thing I ever look at when I am diagnosing a plant, is the pH of the soil, because that's how plants eat. If they're not eating, they're not growing, and they're not protecting themselves from disease. Because one cool tip is the more nutrition a plant can get from microbes in the soil and the soil itself, the more pest and disease resistant it becomes. So pH that water and you'll be good to go. Thank you very much. Subscribe for more. We'll be doing lots of these videos on tips on how to take care of your plants and different ways you can do them completely naturally, because that's the name of the BIOS game. Thank you.